Howdy, folks. Welcome to Thursday night live stream. Excited to be on. This cold's been kicking my butt for the last couple weeks and other things going on in life. So not the usual Wednesday, but we're here Thursday. Super special combo multicast. We're broadcasting both on Tecthusiasm and on Jiles McCoy's channel. How you doing tonight, Jiles?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing well. How about yourself? But getting
Good.
better, maybe at least from the cold.
Yeah. This is week 3. Like I did go to my
Holy
doctor on Monday.
cow,
They're
3
like,
weeks?
yeah, it takes about that long to kick a cold nowadays.
Man.
I don't know if you've ever had this done. I went yesterday, and I've had it done before when I've had colds, and it didn't hit me quite as bad as it did this time. But they put ozone in your ear canals and in your sinuses, and it burns up, kills infection, and makes it so everything kind of drains out and stuff. But man, I had that done yesterday, and I almost feel more congested today.
Yeah,
I was down yesterday.
Never. I didn't even know that was a thing. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, I think it's a new deal.
Wow.
But so so we're on tonight. We're just going to kind of hang out. We're going to chit chat. We got a couple topics that we were just mulling over, talking about hi-fi, home theater, channels, and all that. And let me be one of the, maybe not the first now because you rocketed right past it, but congrats on the YouTube milestones.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's took like about I guess more than 4 years to do it. So, it at the end there, it picked up quite a bit with shorts and that kind of thing. So that was a nice push across the finish line.
Yeah. I think you had one of the fastest at the 100K mark, the fastest run up, like blink, and you cranked right past. So
yeah, it was. It's like the 10-year overnight success.
Exactly. Yep.
You work at something, nobody knows who you are, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you came out of nowhere." I'm like, "No,
yeah,
a long time." But no, I'm super happy and super thankful for all the folks out there. It's really cool.
Yeah, you've been at this game a good bit longer than I have, and definitely your channel's been one that I've watched a lot. I think one of the things that you've done really well, it's been really awesome, is you get so many of like the industry folks on for the long chats and the deep dives and stuff. So I like great brands. I've used a number of those talks over the years to inform, purchases and device research and all that. So
that's great. Yeah, awesome. I'm working on the 2023 season now, and getting people scheduled and kicking that off here in February, and we'll probably go through the beginning of November as a good run, and then take the holidays off again.
Nice.
That's the plan anyway. I'm sticking to it.
Cool. Well, welcome everybody as you come in. Definitely, if you have some questions, pop them in the chat there. Of course, super chats are always welcome, but not necessarily required as well. You got any topics, any folks coming in, you got questions on anything home theater, hi-fi topics, any of the recent things that we've been talking about on any of our channels, put them, we'll star them. We'll definitely get to them if it takes us a few minutes, but looking for some feedback and some questions and all that. We'll see where we go. Just kind of hanging out tonight.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the things I was kind of interested to talk about was the last video you put out, or one of the recent ones anyway, within the last week or so, I think, was the Stark and the per listen subwoofer comparison.
Right.
I think that was a pretty interesting face-off and some pretty interesting results. Stark too is a brand I have to say too, watching your content over the years, definitely a brand like Stark, and I think Audio Control is another one that I hadn't really been that exposed to, that I think I kind of learned about through your content in talking about those brands. The Stark stuff looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Stark is an interesting company. They're a pretty small fish in a big sea, and they do most of their sales, from what I understand, overseas.
Okay.
And they're big in Southeast Asia, and they have a small presence here in the United States. I am a big fanboy and love their stuff, and I'm happy to help put their name out there however I can. They're getting a little bit of traction. I see some other folks doing stuff occasionally, so it seems like it's picking up a bit for them. But they're definitely not like a huge player out in the market right now.
Yeah. That the 15-inch model that you
the
reviewed,
SW15.
yeah, looks like a pretty incredible value, especially when they discount that thing around holidays and other times of the year.
No, it's a ridiculous value at that point. It's not the loudest 15, and it's sealed, right? So, when you put it up against ported, it's kind of apples and oranges. I have a lot of people say, well, how does it compare against like a 18-inch Marty Cube? And I'm like, well, this ported and, more stroke in the 18, and, it's kind of like different weight classes in boxing almost. So, that's, I think, a poor comparison. And the comparison I did, I purposely did it so that it would be kind of stark, for lack of a better word, because, you're looking at something that's $500 when it's on sale versus something that's $5,000. And I run a pair of those per listen 15s in my theater right now. They're wonderful subwoofers. But, there's a really big price difference. And I really wanted to see, exactly what are you getting, right? And, there's all of the kind of soft features, the app and the EQ and the looks and the LCD screen and that kind of stuff. And obviously from a mechanical point of view, there's a lot more wattage there. And I assume the driver's beefier. I don't know. I've not looked at the back. I've not taken them apart. So I don't really know what the motor structure looks like. But, they both produced very similar, almost identical output up to the point where the sub is useful. The Stark, it ran out of gas before the per listen. The per listen is 3-6 decibels louder, something like this, a lot louder. But for $4,500 difference, that's
you'd hope to see something.
That's something you got to think about.
I think sometimes it's easy to how do I want to say this, maybe undervalue certain items or certain models and write them off because we're always focused on bigger, better premium upgrades, or at least I am in some ways. But the reality of just so much of this gear throughout all these companies and this whole industry, this whole hobby performs. Sometimes I think we get into our own heads about what we're shopping and what we're expecting out of things and whatever. So I think at some point in time, I want to get up to 4 subs in my room. I've got a couple of Arundel 1723 2S's. I've been pretty happy with those.
What are those? I'm not really familiar with their line of equipment.
That's their biggest sealed. So they're about 20 inches tall. It's a dual 13.8-inch driver. And I forget the wattage of the amp that's in them, but pretty considerable. But I think I wonder about, and I've talked with other folks as well that have recommended, going to 4 subwoofers. It's less about adding more volume or needing to buy 4 bigger, larger, whatever, maybe like something like a couple of Starks to help just balance the room at that point, right? Have the 2 bigger Arundels, or you got the 2 big per listens doing the brunt of the work, and then you got the smaller models helping to kind of just smooth everything out. But that'll be, I think, on my longer term horizon. I've got a few other things to do.
And so for all the folks out there, one of the things that we had talked about is as from a topic point of view is mistakes that we've made in home theater. And this kind of what you're talking about harkens back to what I consider to be a mistake that I made, and that was really chasing more bass than I ever would really have needed. And you find yourself with 4 18s and 2 21s and all this, and just a room full of these boxes, and it's just so much bass. And really, I can run those 2 15s, and 99% of the time I'm happy. And but I do think I'm going to add something in behind the sofa. I was running a Velodyne 18 back there for a while, and I might put that back, and that gave a lot of tactile. And that was more than enough. That 18 and the 2 15s, they're all sealed and just beautiful, wonderful, plenty of bass. So I mean, you'll see these theaters that are like in normal size rooms, right? So not like some auditorium, but just a regular room in a house, and they'll have 6 24s. And I can tell you right now, you don't need it. Not even for 5 hertz. You don't need that much, right? It's nice to have it and it's fun to play with. And if you're into the toys, then more power to you. But for all the reasonable folks out there, man, you get to a point where you have enough bass, and then beyond that, it's really just kind of smoothing stuff out.
Right. What so you had the bigger DIY packs and stuff, but is the Pro Listen what kind of replaced those in your setup?
Yeah, and it's simply a space consideration for me. I don't have the room, and I didn't want refrigerator sized cabinets. It just cluttered up the room too much for me, and so functionally the 15s are enough bass for me. And I'm not a bass head. I don't need it super heavy, and it made the whole experience for me nicer.
Nice. Yeah, there's definitely some folks around, like the Michigan AVS crew, that are they love it. They love the big subs, and you know, like exactly like you said, you know, six plus subwoofers and devastators and all that kind of stuff, and it makes for some pretty crazy demos. almost too much and some demos for me, but I mean, everybody has their thing.
Like Scott, you know, he likes to run a ton of stuff, but that's like his hobby, right? That's his thing, and that's all good, you know. You know, I'm not knocking it, but you know, you don't need 150 decibels of bass to enjoy a movie, right? You're doing that because it's like it's your thing, right? That's you know, you just want to have a lot of bass, but for everybody else in the world, I think the sweet spot is like 2 18s if you're going to do 2, or 4 15s if you're going to do 4, and that's typically more than enough bass for anybody. And that's in a sealed form factor as well. And if you're doing ported, you know, that's another 3 to 6 decibels overall, so that's even more.
Yeah, that was a big reason why I went with the sealeds too, because Arundel does have a ported version of the same sub, but it sits another few inches higher. And so it limited some of my placement, because I don't want the sub up in the field of my screen. I wanted to make sure I wanted something under about the 20-inch tall mark. And for my space and all that, I think sealed works great. Most of the time we're watching movies in the theater room. For me anyway, it's with the family. And I turn it up to a point where I would even probably turn it up a little bit more. And I'm usually being asked to turn it down from there.
Well, I have that struggle too. And, you know, I've got two young kids. Well, not super young anymore, 13 and 11. And they're both like, Dad, that's too much bass. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah, Dad, that's a lot. They're like, that's way too much. What do you do? I'm like, okay, we'll turn it down. So, you know, I always have things where I can turn that knob when I need to.
Yep. We got a question from Julius here. You have any opinions on SVS 16 ported subs? I've never had SVS subs. Have you had any experience with SVS?
Yeah, so the PB16s, I think, is what he's talking about. And SVS was at CES just a couple of weeks ago, and they had 2 of those in their demo room there, right? And so that's their biggest gun that they have in their arsenal. And the demo room had no roof, right? So it's just like 4 walls, and it was open into a humongous convention center, right? So you know, there's no option of pressurizing a room, right? So they're like, we had to bring the most we could bring. And I could tell you those 2 tuned the way they had them tuned there, and I'm sure they had it tuned pretty hot, were just absolutely thunderous. I mean, they were very, very, very loud. So I think they're great subs. And you know, this is another thing that I've really changed my point of view on over the last 3 or 4 years as well. You know, back when I was in the let's chase the bass days, you know, I would poo-poo these kind of pre-canned sub things, unless it was like I don't know, what's that company that JTR? So they make some big ones, and there's the one with some other like the submersive and the blah blah blah. Anyway, you know, the companies that take the PA drivers for the most part, the super high efficient ones that are super loud at like 60 hertz. And you know, I was like, that's what you need. And you know, the SVS subs or anything else that was kind of a non-monster, you know, that wasn't 18 inches or bigger, just wouldn't do the job. But I was wrong about that. And you know, these more refined subs bring all the bass you need, plus a lot of more features that make life a little bit easier. So I don't know. I've become a really big fan. And the PB16 is an absolute beast. And I would have no problem running those in my theater at all. I mean, they're kind of big for me at this point because I'm really looking for as small a form factor as I can find. But they're absolute beasts.
Did you shuffle something around in the space that you were trying to package the room differently or orient things, or just a matter of just wanting it?
I just wanted to be able to get into the room because when you have big refrigerators based all over the place, it's just a bad aesthetic. I went from 9 bed channels down to 7 bed channels too.
Okay.
Because it fits better in the room. So I got rid of the front wides. And I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. One of the best things that I did at the beginning of this year, I refactored my space and took all of the in-room speakers out, and went architectural, behind the screen LCRs and all that stuff. And I think I'm kind of like a broken record on the channel. But I think I wish I would have started that way. It makes the sitting in the space, it's just more pleasant with less gear, more open, and you don't have, tower speakers and things on stands right by the couch kind of looming over you. It's just a more, I think, calming and pleasant space when it's
and I think that we could probably, or maybe at least I could mark that up as a something I really didn't understand back in my younger days. Architectural speakers it's where it's at, man. I mean, they provide all the performance and sound that you can get out of floor standers or even on walls. They fit better into the space typically, just depending on your room. They're not distractions, and some folks want to see the speakers. But I really love architectural. Get that stuff away and just enjoy the experience. Right, I'm all about the good experience. Somebody was asking if I'm still running the Stark stuff. And so I'm running the ICH5 towers, and I've got ICH or IWH5s on the walls for the surrounds and rears, and then for Atmos the IWH3s, and then a center channel is an IWH3 in wall behind the screen as well. I'm hoping to replace the towers with their P7s one day. But we'll have to see. They're not selling them in the United States yet, so I don't know that I really want to try and import them now. But they look really cool.
Is that an upgraded line, or what would that get?
That's I assume that the P stands for Pro Series, so it's really more of a theater specific build. And the P7s have they're like a big rectangular box, and it's got like a 12 and 8 or 6.5 or something with some kind of like an AMT tweeter on top that's movable and directional. And it's really designed specifically for theater applications, as opposed to a pair of speaker towers, which are kind of straddling the world between the two. And there's more of like a black box kind of thing, and they're not pretty and shiny, all that kind of stuff. It's very if you could put them behind a screen, you would. In my room, I would need to set them to the sides, but it's definitely something you'd put behind a screen. But I saw still Stark speakers, and I don't know that I'll ever change for anything else unless something odd comes along.
Yeah. What do you use for processor right now?
Acurus Act 4.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have their amps as well?
I just put in an M8 to power the 7 bed channels, and I'm bridging 2 of the channels down to a single for the center, and I'm using a Stark Sound Fiera 4 for Atmos, and that gives me my 11 channels. Nice. I had some bigger class AB stuff in there, but it's hot and it's really heavy, and it's hard for me to move the rack and that kind of stuff because I have to pull it out to get to the back of it. And when you've got like 300 pounds of amplifiers in there, it becomes difficult to roll that thing on carpet. So I wanted to move to class D, and I feel like a lot of people are like, oh my God, what? I'm all class D now in my amplification in the theater. So I'm excited for that.
I'm very, very closely looking at a similar move. I have a stack of Parasounds now, 3 big Halos, and luckily my stuff is a little more accessible because my rack is kind of in a room and it's separate storage rooms. So but if I ever need to yank those things out, it'll be an undertaking. But my big challenge with the Parasounds that I've kind of like tracked that amp to an integration mismatch, I guess, with a couple of the specific Focal speaker models I have, and I'm trying to get noise floors down. I want to get all the buzzing and noise out of my spaces, so I'm looking at some NAD stuff or maybe some of their Master series, but I'm getting closer and closer to pulling the purchase on I think what'll be an NAD M28, and I'm really curious to tinker around with the difference between these big AAB Parasounds in that NAD and see if things measure differently, if it pulls the noise floor in the ambient noise coming out of the speakers down to nothing. Just keep it super clean, simple, light, cool, and all of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, noise floor in the room really is all about the projector. I'm not lucky enough to have a space where I can have a projection room and put in a separate room. And I suppose I could build a hush box, but I don't know. When the movie's up and running and playing,
you're okay. Yeah.
I can't tell anyway.
Yep.
So I've just written it off as whatever. But yeah, that's where all of the audible noise in the room comes from. So when everything's running, it's the projector that you hear. It drowns everything else out.
UPC game too, right?
Yeah, totally.
Do you do that in your theater space, or you do that more just in the office space?
I prefer to have a much smaller screen. I've got a 32 right now, and I think that's really too big for first-person shooter kind of stuff. If you're going to do like racing games and that kind of thing, then bigger is better. But for FPS and that kind of thing, smaller is better, and you get your field of vision, and then it feels like it's less throw with the mouse, and you're not trying to move your head around to see. You just take it all in. So but I game in the office. So where I'm sitting at now is where I game at. So this is the gaming and streaming and content editing and all that kind of stuff area. But yeah, now I heard you got a new toy.
Yeah. So I pulled the trigger on the MSI 4090 Gaming X Trio. Nice. Yeah, I was watching the Discord, and I didn't get one at launch. I thought about buying one last September or whatever, and then I'm like, I'll just kind of back burner this. I don't actually spend as much time gaming as I might like to. And then coming into this year, I'm like, well, I started opening up the tracker Discord, for the stock notifications and seeing them come by. And then that one popped on Newegg last week. I think it was. And I'm like, all right, I'll try to add to cart. I probably won't check out anyway. And actually the first time I hit it, it failed. And then I hit it again. It's like, oh my God, that went through. I'm like, well, I probably should have told my wife that first. But so I sold my 3090 Ti to somebody off the Facebook market. Painful 67% price reduction. That was one of the worst.
The Ti just came out like 3 months ago or something, right?
I think I bought it back in, was it March?
It was last year for sure, because I bought a 3090 and then they released the 3090 Ti the next month. And I knew it was coming, but I knew I wanted to get the 3090 anyway, but I was like, I only had the best card for a month. Oh. Yeah.
No, I should have never have bought that with the way that the way things changed. With the mining, and then the way the GPU market's been and all that, like that was ill-advised. Talking about mistakes, like that was an incredibly horrible purchase. Bought that card for $2,400 and sold it for $850.
Oof.
Barely a few months later. For marginal improvements. So I will not, I'm famous last words, but I will not have any intention of buying a 4090 Ti. I will wait for the 5090, I think, but I haven't cracked it yet. I sold the 3090 Ti. It's out of my system and gone, but the 4090 is still sitting in the box. I hope maybe this weekend, I want to record some content around putting it in and then fire it up. And I'm curious to see some
what people don't understand about the kind of stuff that we do is that it's impossible for us, well, for the most part, to buy a toy and then just play with it.
Yeah.
We're always like, oh, I can't take it out of the box until I'm ready to film.
Yep.
And my wife's like, that's been sitting there for a week now. I'm like, I know, I've been working and I haven't had a chance. They're like, can't you do it right now? I'm like, well, I don't really want to film right now.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Weird.
It's 9 o'clock on a weekday. I'm just chilling right now. Yeah. So I think I'll get into it this weekend, but I'd like to see some Spider-Man running, hopefully native 4K, full 120, fully maxed out.
Have you played Cyberpunk 2093 or whatever it is?
No, not yet.
I haven't either. I want to see how bad that'll make my 3090 cry. It's supposed to be really rough.
Yeah, especially if you kick up the ray tracing. I think the game, sad to admit, I've never actually played the prior, the last God of War, not even Ragnarok, but the other one.
I've never played God of War period ever. So
right. Right.
Yeah, so I probably can't call myself a real gamer. People out there they're going, ha ha, gamer.
Yeah, so I think the 4090 will run that one all the way up 120. So I think that'll be my foray back into something that's not Marvel Snap, because that's been dominating my gaming for a little while here.
Right on. Yeah, dude, I'm old school. I've been playing tons of Apex Legends. All right, I love that one. It's like comfort food. You can just sit down, play a couple of rounds. It's really easy. It's good times. It's good times.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I think we got some questions here.
Yeah, James had a good one there. Start it.
This guy? Oops. Yeah. You go ahead. You do that. Yeah. Video 4 years ago about the must-haves in a home theater. K-scape and video. Yep. They are still the 4 must-haves. But the one caveat is you can take a subset of those if you want, and there are a couple of replacements that are pretty equivalent, right? So today, the 2 that I use almost 100% of the time now, I really pretty much just use those, are Kaleidoscape and NVIDIA Shield, right? Those are the ones that I consume almost all my content. All movies pretty much come from Kscape, and then all streaming, mostly just TV show kind of stuff, is off the Shield. Now, the Shield, you could use an Apple TV 4K new version for, right? They're pretty close. If you want to run Plex, though, I don't think that'll run on the Apple TV. So the Shield is where that's going to live at. And Plex was just at CES too, and they're making a big push now, right? So they're trying to become, I guess, maybe change their image just a little bit, because people still associate Plex quite a bit with, let's download some MKV files and watch it, right? And let's steal all the content and that kind of stuff. But there's completely legitimate set of customers that, buy discs and rip them and use this to watch things easily, right? But they're trying to become more of or add in functionality that allows them to help people stream content. So you log into Plex and then you tell it all the content that you like. And then when new episodes are released, it'll say, hey, this new one's, out, push the button. It'll take you to HBO Max or whatever, and you can watch it. And it kind of keeps track of all your streaming stuff, because it is a pain in the butt, because half the time I don't know what streaming service the show is I want to watch on. I can't find it. And then something I'll want to see, I don't know where it's at anymore. And I'll, start Googling for it. So this is supposed to help you with that type of viewing environment, right? Of course, all the other stuff's there as well. And they were showing that off at CES. That's their big push. And I'll make some content around that here pretty soon. I think it's still in beta, but it looks pretty promising. But to go back to the question, those 2 are my primaries. Then you get into a dedicated file player. And if you are big on playing files and you don't want to be in the Plex ecosystem, Zapedia and Zadoo are my 2 go-tos outside of that. And I've owned both of the boxes, and they're both great. I think there was another question. What did I think about the Zadoo version, whatever? They're all wonderful. I mean, the UHD 3000. What I think is I wish I had one, and I don't. But I think it's a great box from what I hear. And then the one thing that I never use anymore is a Blu-ray player. I don't have any new physical media. I've just got the stuff that I've had from from years past, and I'm not buying new discs at this point. So all new movies that I buy are all coming on Kaleidoscape.
Yep. Yeah, I echo that sentiment. For video, it's two pillars for me. Kaleidoscape as well. I go Apple TV over the Shield, just because I'm an Apple ecosystem kind of whole hog, Mac, iPad, iPhone, and so Apple TV fits into that so well because of the extra services and features and enablements and stuff that it gives you. And aside from Kaleidoscape, I buy digitally, mostly on iTunes, again in the same in the same ecosystem. Yeah, I haven't had a disc player, dedicated disc player, in I don't know how long. And now I don't even have the ability to play a disc attached to either of my home theater spaces since getting rid of the Xbox Series X and just kind of keeping the PC.
Yeah, I don't have one. So I've got two spots three spots, but two spots where we primarily watch television. And I still have a Panasonic in the theater downstairs, but in the living room, we don't have any way to stream at all, or I'm sorry, to play disc at all. The only thing we have in there is a NVIDIA Shield, and we watch all content off that in that room.
Yep. Same.
So there you go. Those, that still holds pretty much true. You just need to decide how you want to consume your content. If you want to consume off disc, then that would take the place of the Kaleidoscape, right? Yeah. Those two pieces are kind of interchangeable. And if you don't want a dedicated file player, then you could do that with the NVIDIA Shield can do it for you. And then I've not used the Apple TV enough to feel comfortable with it, but can you have it play MKV files and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah, I have a Synology with an 8-bay that's half filled and
cool.
Still pretty loaded with a decent amount of ripped content and stuff. Plex is there. It's a little limited in a couple specific ways compared to doing it on the Shield. The big hole is you don't get to bitstream Atmos and DTSX audio, so you lose that. But when I do play stuff that I have ripped in Apple or on the Apple TV, I tend to use Infuse, which is like an Apple ecosystem kind of specific, something of a equivalent to Plex. Point it to your network share where all your rips are, and it'll index them and pull the metadata and give you cover in metadata based movie library access and all that. But I think they do a really great job in the Apple platform of supporting pretty much everything that Plex does. It's still limited because of the box to not be able to bitstream the lossless Dolby Atmos and DTSX, but any critical, I would say, viewing that we do nowadays, and in the theater is on the Kaleidoscape. So if I'm watching something for a rip, even if it had Atmos, I'm fine to go without it for the simplicity of having one box that gives me all that easy access.
Right on.
We'll see. I wonder. I'm starting to wonder. I think this is going to be an interesting year for maybe some advancements in that area, because I believe Amazon just upgraded the Fire TVs to be able to bitstream Atmos DTSX, right. And so now that kind of really leaves Apple, Roku, I guess, too, the big four now. Shield's not the only game in town, at least. So, and plus with, I guess, the Disney announcing they're going to do DTS audio with Disney Plus in that coming up for the whole IMAX enhanced experience. I think we might see more codecs brought to more devices, which could be interesting, because I think Dolby's just been soundly destroying DTS in this 4K generation.
They have won so far. Yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah. And then you got RO3D.
Yeah,
that is, as far as movies go, doesn't exist anymore. It's a good upmixer though.
So I wonder, we'll see DTS maybe make a little bit of a resurgence or come to some more devices or whatever. Although I still I haven't seen a definitive statement about is the Disney Plus going to be DTS lossy? Is it going to be DTS-X? Is it going to be lossless? Will we see the first real foray into lossless audio streaming, which would break all kinds of barriers?
I would guess no.
Yeah, I expect not as well, but
yeah, it's too much bandwidth.
But we'll see. Someday, it has to come someday. Somebody's got to be the first.
What else we got over there? Oh, this guy's making me jealous.
Yeah,
getting him AVRs and think, oh, dude, that is so cool. Yeah, I mean, as long as you got the rest of the gear that makes it worthwhile, that is a killer purchase. My projector is crappy enough that I don't think I would get any benefit. But if I could upgrade to something a little bit nicer, but such a great box. Yeah, that's going to be a wonderful investment.
Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on some kind of a video processor in the theater, even if just for a demo or a review this year. We'll see. I've not used one. Yeah, I do the lens shifting and do a lot through the Control 4 setup, but yeah, eager to try some of those other devices hands-on. SS is asking what happened with the Devastators that you had.
So I just had the one, and I sold it is what I did with it. And these two nice young burly guys came and carried it up from my basement, and I thought they were going to die, and they were like ripped, and they were like, roar! And I was all like, holy shit, I can't even lean it over. And they manhandled that thing out of there. But yeah, so that moved on simply to make space, right? Just gotta I just don't have enough space to store everything. If I could keep all the subs from the past, I would, but I gotta move things through. So I sold the Devastator, I sold the 21-inch Marty cube, I sold the 18-inch version 1 Martys that I built, the mini Martys, and so yeah, I will slowly move through things as time passes. I'm building 2 of the 15-inch Marty cubes right now, and I might end up keeping those. Once I'm done with that content, I'm going to put them in the rear of the theater, and I can cross them over and make them play well with SIL stuff if I want to. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm really loving that build right now. The size on those is really nice. And the stereo integrity SQL 15s look like really great subs, and I can't wait to hear those playing. As everybody, if you follow my content, I'm a fan of kind of the air pump sub design as opposed to the PA sub design. And if people don't know what I'm getting at, if you look at a subwoofer and you look at the surround, so it's like the piece that connects the cone to the edge of the speaker. Some of them look like half of a inner tube, like a bicycle tire inner tube, half round or whatever you want to call it. And then the others, are V-shaped, W-shaped, the waffle design. And the waffle design is built for efficiency in the driver, right? And that's so that a driver can get as loud as it possibly can. And that came out of the pro audio world in PA systems, right? So, they're doing open air stuff, and they need something that'll get super loud. They don't need it to get super low, but they also need it to be as efficient as possible, right? So that's that design, right? And then the ones with the half round, that was really designed for a lot of excursion, right? So they're able to physically move. They have a larger X-Max typically. They typically have a lower FS on the driver too, which means that it can play lower in practical terms. So I skew toward that kind of subwoofer as opposed to the PA styles driver. And I tend to think they have a slightly different sound signature, although people disagree with me and they're like, you can't tell the difference. And I'm like, well, I for whatever reason, I have my preferences lie toward that design of driver, and these SQL 15s have that kind of design I like. So I'm really excited to hear those.
Yeah, I've never gotten into the build, kind of the DIY or kit build stuff, but
it takes a lot of time and a lot of space, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And if you could put together IKEA furniture, this is like IKEA furniture with glue. So it's not that bad. But it's an undertaking, And the painting is the worst part. The finished piece, that's the hardest. Yeah.
I'll throw up a couple more questions here. So one's asking, sitting 8 feet away, any reason to go towers over bookshelves if subs are being used? What's your thoughts on towers versus bookshelves?
Depends on the bookshelves.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's a bookshelf with a tweeter and a 4-inch driver, I don't know that I would go that scenario in any world I live in. But, for the most part, if you got a tweeter and a 6.5 and a sub, you're totally fine. You don't need a tower at all. Right. Mm-hmm. The reason most of the time you go with a tower is because you're trying to get bass extension in those speakers, right? And you'll see a tower, and it'll have like 2 drivers, and one might be a passive radio or not. If it's not, maybe it'll be ported. And the reason that people go ported is so that they can make the lower frequencies louder as well. So that's all I'll play for additional bass. If you're going with a subwoofer, you're gonna typically have a crossover on your main anyway. So it doesn't matter if it can go less than 80, 70, 60 hertz, right? You don't need it to play down to 30 or 20 or whatever, right? It's because you're not going to send that signal anyway. So bookshelves I think are a wonderful way to go. And, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with in-walls, right? Most in-walls aren't going to have a 12-inch driver. Right? They're not designed to play bass, right? They know that you're going to have subwoofers. So no, and the 8 feet away is fine. It could be 10 feet away, or it could be 6, whatever. But I think you'd be fine. I'm curious, what specific equipment you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. For Juan Brana.
8 feet's kind of, well, I guess I wouldn't say necessarily close, but it's intimate. I said a little further back than that. So fill in a little bit larger of a room, but the closer you go, right, the less loud everything has to play and the less demanding the whole experience is. So
less power and everything. Yeah.
Question here about backing up videos. Been successful ripping Dolby Vision or HDR10 plus metadata while reducing the size. So the rip stuff that I've done, I don't re-encode anything. I've just done MKVs, and honestly, I've just done kind of like the stuff that I have ripped that's been 4K, kind of put it in, run make MKV, taking all of the care that I make sure that I get the right playlist and the right subtitles and all that. But I haven't even messed with Dolby Vision much. In any rips you've done, Jiles, have you been concerned with or
rips does not exist in my world anymore?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
That's not it's not part of my lexicon. I don't have any new discs to rip from.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm totally out of that game. But in general, 265 container makes things a lot smaller. And I've watched MKVs in 264 and 265, and as long as it's a full rip, I've never been able to tell any difference. If that's a concern for anybody. But yeah, I don't even have a CD or a Blu-ray reader on my computer anymore. Completely. Yeah, it's just glass in the front. There's no slot for anything.
Empty bay. Did so the Kaleidoscape supplant that for you basically then, or because you had that set up before earlier on? Right?
Yeah, back in the day before Kaleidoscape. But like I said, dude, I'm all in. I can't say enough about it. I wish there was a competitor. I think that would be great for the market because they are the only game in town right now.
Yep.
Well, there's some other competitors and I can't even think of their names. It's like not Red Box, but Red something, and it's like the super high end
thing,
Pro Cinema stuff, and this is like for studios and that kind of stuff that are trying to move movies around, and that's you buy the movie and it's like $5,000 or something,
right? Yeah.
So that's even worse than Kaleidoscape. But yeah, Kaleidoscape has completely eliminated any kind of disc stuff that I would ever consider. I hate to beat that bush because Kaleidoscape is very polarizing for some folks, right? They're like, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. They're going to go out of business. You're going to lose all your movies and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, I'll take the risk because I love it, and I can just download what I want, and it costs about the same as. I mean, once you get the equipment, you're in the ecosystem. It's just that upfront that hurts.
Yep. Yeah. Same story for me. I've been in K 4 years or so now, maybe a little longer than that even. I got fed up with doing the ripping server stuff, and I didn't want to have shelves of discs. And I've happily been using Kaleidoscape. I did a little more back into the ripping scene in 2022, mostly because I just wanted to make the content about it. I felt that there was like kind of a lacking of like maybe good instructional info how to do it, right? And particularly focusing on like the pitfalls of it. The way that I feel like a lot of people either understate the pain points and complexities of it, or the way I think a lot of people even maybe like make mistakes in what they've put on their servers and maybe don't even realize it and stuff. But all at the end of the day, doing that stuff for the purposes of content kind of pulled me into the idea like this scene. It was fun for a little while, and then I remembered all of the pain points and hassle factors and time spent elements, and so that for me it just like reaffirmed again. It's like this isn't the solution for me. Like Kaleidoscape is what makes sense for me. So yeah, I'm all in. There's a couple more questions about K actually. SS, they have a program to upgrade import movies you already have invested in, some of the Movies Anywhere. Yeah, nothing like Movies Anywhere. I think we've all been wanting Kaleidoscape to join Movies Anywhere for a long time, but as time goes by, I think that gets more and more unlikely to happen.
Yeah, they do have a path to get your old discs in, but it's very convoluted. So you have to get your hands on one of their older devices that has a physical drive in it. Then you take that device, add it to your system, right? Make it part of your Kaleidoscape group or whatever as a player. And then you can take your old discs and feed into it one by one. And it'll catalog that as you owning the disc. But you still can't watch it discless until you pay like a $3 or $4 fee per movie to go. It's called their disc to digital program. So if you've got a ton of physical media, I would say keep your Blu-ray player and just watch it on that. If there are some that you watch a lot or want to have for demos and that kind of thing, then sure, borrow one of these units from somebody, get those disc to digital. Yeah, exactly. And go that route. But yeah, Movies Anywhere it would be so awesome to have that happen. Yeah, but you're right. It's never going to happen.
Movies Anywhere itself is just even, I think, underperformed what it could have been. Lionsgate, MGM, some of the studios never joined. I don't think there's been a new studio added to Movies Anywhere since the original 5 founded it.
Yeah, it's all about, from that point of view, I think streaming has pretty much eaten that market alive.
Yeah. All right. Hi-Fi Haven, what's the average cost of a Kaleidoscape 4K movie?
Well, you can help me with this one. Like a new movie is like $30 or something. 35.
Yeah, I would say. You still got the outlier studios like Paramount and Warner that are like the $36.99. That's painful.
Yeah, that's top ends, but yeah.
But then you got the Disney, Sony, NBCU. I think some of the other ones are pretty reasonable, where even new stuff is in the 20s, or like you said, $29.99.
They have sales all the time. I've bought a ton of movies for like $12-13 each.
Yep, that's the way to go. Now the bundles, especially for somebody coming into the platform, you want to grab stuff. It's sales and bundles will take care of you.
I did that to get I did that to get all of the Star Wars, all of the Star Trek, all of the Marvel stuff, a bunch of DC, all of the nerd fandom typical catalog things, all the demo movies and that kind of stuff. I waited till they were on sale and picked them up.
Yep, exactly. Same. I did have the benefit myself too. I got in just in time when Ultraviolet was still here. So I was able to link my K library to UV, and then 3 months later or whatever, the UV went down.
Yeah.
So another one from Juan. I wonder if a company like Apple would ever make a more affordable version of Kaleidoscape. Yeah, we will see. That's always the big question every year at WWDC. And but high bit rate.
I hope somebody does, but it's a tough proposition to get into. Making all those deals with all the different companies is tough. There's a reason nobody else has done it yet.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Sony with that Bravia Core thing is getting at least the video bit rates up there. They didn't put the audio with it, but for a service that's only linked to latest year model Sony televisions, and Sony's probably one of the last companies. Market. Yeah, last companies I'd build a library with of movie content. So Jules asking about power cords.
They're great jewelry.
Dress up your system.
I have upgraded my power cords on a number of devices. There has never been any type of perceivable difference in audio or video quality of the performance of the device, but the looks in my room vastly improved. Looks nice when you got a nice looking power cable. It's not as long as it's a competent cable, it's not going to make a difference.
Exactly.
EQ through cables is silly, and folks that are like, let's get a better HDMI cable because it's going to make my picture look nicer. That's also way out there too. But power, in my opinion, well, I think empirically power cables do not make a difference. It's not. I don't think it's really opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I do and recommend with cables, that like in terms of buying them, is buying cables of specific lengths to clean up your rack.
That's a
clean
big
up
deal.
your space, not have all the excess cables and stuff like that. But like you said, buy competent brands and nice construction, appropriate lengths for what you need, and you're all good.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to go crazy and buy the bling, dude, more power to you. Go for it. I'm not gonna naysay that. It's not gonna make anything sound or look better, but it's cool.
I still can't get over. I had bought it. I bought a couple foot Pangea from Amazon as one of a handful of several devices and things that I had bought when I was trying to see like solutions or something that might have impact on some of that ambient noise and like the speaker hum. And man, this thing was like, it was so thick you couldn't even like hardly bend it.
Yeah,
you could get one like U shape out of it, but any kind of finer, I think it was massive, $200 I think for the less than 2 foot length. I ended up sending it back with everything else that I sent back, but it was definitely a sight to behold. You had a bunch of those things snaking around a rack. It's pretty wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah, another one just popped here. Brockstar. Lip sync issues with Kaleidoscape. You ever had any sync issues with yours? I can't say that I have.
I've not had lip sync issues in that the sound is different than the lips moving. What I do have issues with is the amount of time that it takes the processor to sync audio over HDMI and start playing the audio, right? So like when you push play, the picture starts immediately, but sometimes it's like 5 or 6 seconds before the audio kicks in. And I think part of that is the Acurus processor. I think it's a little worse than others as far as that goes, but I don't have any lip sync issues, but I do have, delay on the HDMI negotiation for the audio and for it to kick in. Handshake lag. That's a good term for it.
Yeah.
So that's the worst thing. But that really only is impactful if I'm just trying to jump to a scene and watch it immediately. Because if you jump to a scene, it's usually getting right into it, and I don't want to wait 5 seconds. But if I'm just firing up a movie, then usually doesn't matter.
Right. I found, I guess in my system, I've had my prior Marantz, Denon Marantz stuff. I've got the Anthem stuff now, and I had a Trinoff for a little while. The Marantz Pre-Pro was the fastest of all of them in terms of, playback has started and video is going and audio is there with it. I found the Trinoff to be very, very slow. Like it took there was a very, very tangible, noticeable lag before audio presented itself after video playback. The Anthem's kind of in between the two, not quite as fast as the Marantz, but not as slow as the Trinoff. So I think, yeah, processor to processor or brand to brand, there's definitely some variance there. I know, Rockstar, I think on the AVS owners thread for Kaleidoscape, it's actually dubbed, I think, as like a Strato thread, but there's one main thread on AVS forum that basically the Kaleidoscape group uses to talk about the entirety of the platform. I know that there's been some conversation in the past there about Trinoff and folks having sync issues and changing HDMI cables, or maybe even on Kscape owners forum as well. So I might recommend head to those forums and do some searching. You may find some discussion of what folks did that kind of helped out. I think in some cases, specifically, a couple of the members experimented with changing out HDMI cables, and specifically making sure to use 6 foot length cables where they had some shorter than 6 foot length cables, and made some difference there.
I did have a really short cable on my Kaleidoscape, and I would get weird audio dropouts. So it'd be playing, and then the volume would drop to 0, and then it would come back, and I swapped that short cable. It was like, it was like that long, and I swapped it out to like a 6 foot cable, and that stuff has pretty much gone away. So I think there is something with the cable and the negotiation and the capabilities there that Kaleidoscape is like super finicky about.
Yeah. I've definitely experienced some of that, trying to move my K around, and instances where this was with the prior unit, the Strato C that I have right now. I've never hooked up anywhere else but my system. But the former Strato S 6 terabyte that I had tried to take that actually to a couple people's houses for shootouts, and any time as well, like if the K is on any kind of like a splitter, because we've tried to do over here. I had my hands on an Epson LS12000 for a little while, and so it's like, all right, let's use the K, and the Anthem has 2 HDMI outputs, so we can hook one up to the JVC, one up to the Epson, and throw half and half. And the Kaleidoscape doesn't like any of that.
Yeah,
it's like no,
it's finicky.
No.
Yeah, it's finicky.
Give me one device, stable, clean chain connection, and I'll show, then I'll give you HDCP, and I'll show you the 4K stuff. But if it doesn't sit all properly nice, it locks down the copy protection pretty quick. So yeah.
See, anybody else out there got stuff? I'm looking through the questions, see if there's anything that we missed, but I don't see anything. Maybe we could talk a little bit about upcoming channel content. So what's on the horizon for you? Anything hot and heavy gonna be coming out soon?
Yeah, so I've got the 4090. That'll be the next thing. And then I need to get down to my room. I'm so overdue to do this, and actually like move my subwoofers around a little bit and try to get some of the native curve a little more level,
Sure.
And then kind of rerun some arc and stuff on top of that. So it's just a matter of like finding so it's the hard part of like YouTube being just the kind of the side gig. It's like if there's not a window of opportunity to really get into more stuff on a Saturday or Sunday morning or afternoon, like it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen otherwise. And so I'm working still on this amp thing. I need to get down there and really kind of isolate my Parasounds one more time. I was talking to their tech support a little bit about the buzzing, and that. So I need to do a little bit more of an isolation test and kind of update on that. And then from there, I'm looking forward to like this, really focusing actually more on my living room setup than my theater setup. We just finally had our local handyman that doing some projects around the house here, talking about my bump out wall and building a modular way, because I want to be able to get some other speaker brands in for testing, but I want to focus on the architectural stuff and bringing up some of my source and processing equipment that runs my living room into the living room, because I'm kind of over some of the pain points of having it removed in a way and in the gaming PC and all that. So it's some of my big focuses, I guess.
That's
cool.
What you? Man, I've got a lot of stuff that I need to do. I just got to get around to it. So I'm going to do a Strato C and Terra server video. I might be doing a Trinov piece of content here pretty soon. That's probably a couple of months out, though. I'm going to do a screen review for Vivid Storm for their ALR, ambient light rejecting screen. Going to do a review of Hisense ultra short throw projector, the L9G, that's supposed to be doing Dolby Vision, and I'm just waiting for them to send the update that enables Dolby Vision. So we'll see. So you don't put those two words together, Dolby Vision and projector, right? Those things don't. Right. Yep. They don't do this, right? So I want to see what they're actually claiming and see what that looks like. But there'll be some content about that. Gosh, where is it in here? I bought this thing that here it is. I'm going to do some content about this. It's a Bluetooth die. Huh. Yeah. So that'll be a fun one. I saw those guys at CES. I'm like, oh, I have to have that Bluetooth. Yeah, that's cool.
Is that for when you're like playing some online Dungeons and Dragons, I guess? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've got a group of guys that I play with on a weekly basis that I went to high school with, right? So, we're all about 50 years old, and high school was a long time ago. So it's kind of fun. There are 5 of us. Yeah. And we hop on every Saturday night and, mostly talk trash about, school from back in the day, but role play some D&D, and we use the D20 platform or the Roll20 platform. Roll20.net, and this supposedly will connect via Bluetooth to my PC, and then when you roll, it'll show on screen what you do. So, I'm into that kind of stuff too. And I've got like a bunch of little knickknacks and gadgets hanging around here that I got to deal with. I want to make some content about some JBL Bluetooth speakers, and I saw all their stuff at CES as well, and it's just they've just gone crazy in this portable speaker market. So I'm kind of excited to do some stuff about that. Going to do some BenQ content for those guys. And I'm working on building out the 2023 schedule for my live streams. So I'm working on that right now, and getting those fired back up and do a run from February through the beginning of November. So that's exciting too. So yeah, just lots of stuff. And I'm in the same situation as you, right? So I got a full-time gig and family and everything else. So it gets done as it gets done.
Yeah.
But exactly. The Kaleidoscape is I'm actively working on that now, and I'm excited to get that content out.
So your K is Ben and S, and then you're getting your chance to try out the C and the Terra.
That's right. Yeah. And my expectation is that, functionally it'll be identical, but you get some benefits on the backside, meaning that the player and the server are no longer connected, so you can upgrade those independently, which is kind of nice, right?
Yeah.
So, and I might even look at picking up a set of that stuff too, because I would like to have another player for the living room, because I've just got the Strato S in the theater now. So we'll see, but I'm excited for make that content.
Yeah. It's a nice setup. I found once you're watching a movie, it's really all the same thing, at least for right now, until we get some kind of a Strato C2 or who knows what, future player. But the download speed really helps us use the system. Being able to get a movie loaded in about 10 minutes versus the 45 cool. or so. Yeah, basically makes it all on demand.
That's really cool. There's a guy, Julius, is asking, what is my technical background? You can find me on LinkedIn. You can see my full resume if you want to. I'm an IT guy by trade, and I've been in that industry for my entire career. So today I'm CIO for a municipality here in Colorado. So I run all of technology and innovation for that city. From a career arc point of view, I went on the hardware side of the house, right? So I wasn't in application development. I started out doing service desk work, and then I did junior and senior infrastructure work, and I was CISO for a Fortune 500 healthcare company for a while, and did mergers and acquisitions from a technical aspect for healthcare for a number of years as well. So it's all been, high tech infrastructure, data center management, and that kind of stuff for the most part. And I've always been a big home theater nut, and those over time, those two things went like this, right? So it's a lot of the same kind of concepts now as far as technology and theater and audio go.
Yeah, I think it's a fun hobby.
That's the day game.
Yeah, fun hobby to be in with with a technical / engineering background. You have kind of a different approach to things, right? With a different kind of understanding, a different level of maybe appreciation, or just or that being an engineer. I know when I look at stuff, I always look at it from that lens. Tough week for tech though, man. 18,000 people at Amazon and 10,000 at Microsoft.
More to come.
Yeah.
More to come. This is the tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really rough. I mean, when Tesla lowers prices, it's bad.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't believe it when I woke up and saw that. It's funny.
Yeah, I even made a video. I don't even cover that kind of stuff, but I was so shocked. I did a little stream about it. I was like, oh my God, they reduced prices by 20% on some things. I mean, they've always waited for the government to give rebates just so they can raise their price and rake that money in themselves.
Take the money themselves.
Yeah, that was their standard operating procedure to lower prices. That something horrible is going on.
Yeah, the auto market in general. It's going to be an interesting year for buying and selling cars. I think everything's going to go sideways. Supply and demand curves in the used car market. Carvana and all of them going down.
A buyer's market. Yeah. It's no longer a seller's market.
Yeah. I had thought a little bit towards in the latter part of last year, like we had the Model 3, we had it for about a year, and there's definitely like certain elements of it that I like, and then but the way the car market was, it's like, man, we drove this thing for a year. We got 10,000 miles on it. Like we could sell it at a profit and whatever. And now that profit is like a $20,000 loss.
Overnight. The world changed. Yeah.
NVIDIA and Tesla both just devalued my electronics at the snap of a finger with the new GPUs and those price cuts. Pretty wild.
It's super crazy. I'll be buying a new car in 3 years, I think. So I don't know, whenever my son decides that he's ready to be driving. So I think he's about 3 years out when he's 16. And so he'll inherit my Jeep, and I'm next up for a new car. My wife got the last one. So we'll be looking then to see what's hot. I don't know. I've never owned a truck, but that Ford Lightning looks really cool.
Oh yeah,
that is a nice electric vehicle.
Yeah, I see those around a little bit here in the Detroit area.
That's cool. Yeah, we're getting a couple at work, so I'll be able to test them out and drive them and stuff and see what that's like. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the EV is interesting. Like it's insanely awesome, just like always having a full tank, right? Basically having a full battery every morning, every day, you're ready to go. And it'll take you, within daily range. Never stop at a gas station on a hot day or a super cold day or whatever, in the wintertime, and sitting at the kids' sporting events, regardless of what it's like outside. You can be in there watching Netflix on the screen and all the stuff it lets you do. There's some cool factor, some convenience life factor to the EV, which is pretty awesome.
And if you want a performance vehicle, there's nothing else right now.
Yeah,
that's just it's the way.
Yeah,
as the Mandalorian says, this is the way.
Yeah, and even Florida.
I won't buy anything like that though.
Yeah, we got the performance. That was a mistake. I should not have bought a performance trim in Michigan.
Really?
And we bought 5 tires and 1 rim last winter.
Ouch.
Because of winter potholes in our wonderful Michigan roads. But I don't know, the way this winter's going, I was going to put some winter tires and some bigger rubber on it, but I haven't done it yet. And it's like, it's January, whatever.
It's too late now.
It's raining and it's 45 degrees outside. I don't know that winter's gonna come this time.
I hear you. Yeah. All right, so here's one. Yeah, it's never gonna happen. I don't even have the Devastator box anymore. I've got the Kraken. Kraken's downstairs. So if you want me to do a video with the Kraken, if you can get GSG to send me their new 21-inch sealed box, I'll build it and I'll put the Kraken in and measure it. I'm happy to do that. But I've still got the Kraken, but I don't think I'll ever put together another Devastator box. I don't know if they have a, like, I might do like a G sub or a small one, but the big ones, it's just so painful for me to try and get up and down the stairs and stuff in the basement. It's like, I almost have to move call a moving company to come help, it's just, it's too much, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Yeah. What's the Kraken? Is that a driver or?
Yeah, that's a 21-inch sub that's from Parts Express.
Okay.
And it's called the Kraken. And I did a video where I built a 21-inch ported kit from GSG and put the driver in it. And then my wife painted a Kraken on the box. So that was pretty fun. The good old days. That was fun.
Speaking of watching The Mandalorian, did you Tesla 409?
Yeah, the answer is it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, actually you need the base standard range is not, but I think as long as the long ranges are. Yep.
Yeah, they're all 4. Yeah, and some cars come with 3 motors too, which is weird. I don't know if the Teslas do, but others. What were you going to say about The Mandalorian? Season 3's almost here.
Yeah. I saw the trailer popped. I haven't watched the trailer yet. I finally just got around to watching Obi-Wan. I'm so behind in my content. But I thought Obi-Wan was
okay.
It was good. Yeah. It had some really, really cool fan service moments, but I wasn't a big fan of some of the characters or whatnot, but I need to roll through the Book of Boba Fett before Mandalorian.
Book of Boba Fett I liked. That was good. I really like Mandalorian. I enjoyed that one probably the most. But what was the most recent one? I can't think of the name of it. It's eluding me.
Star Wars?
Yeah, the new Star Wars where it's the
Andor.
And Andor was really good. So if you like the first 3 movies, Andor felt like that. Just like the other movie that came out, Rogue One, whenever it came out, it felt like the original trilogy. Andor felt like the original trilogy. That's my favorite, and I think Mandalorian is second after that.
Nice. Yeah. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm just as behind in Star Wars video content as I am in Marvel cinematic content. I need to catch up. You catch go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think I've seen most everything on both of those at this point. I've got me and my boys watch it though, so it's like a thing for us.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm so close. Like my kids are a little younger, 9 and 12. Soon to age up. I'll have a teenager very, very soon. But yeah, we're especially with a 9-year-old, like it's still a little light for a lot of that content, but not too long. Sooner than I would even like, I suppose. But at some point,
yeah, that's true. It'll happen, and then you'll be like, oh my god. Then they graduate, and then they go to college. They're gone.
Yep,
that's what it feels like anyway.
I got friends approaching that zone or in that zone now. Yeah, pretty wild the way it flies. But I'll be able to watch more of all that current stuff in a few years when we can do it as a family, because most of our viewing is family viewing, and we're still below bar on some of the content.
Well, if you can find time, you should watch The Last of Us. I saw the first episode, and that's the real deal.
Yeah. I watched that by myself Sunday night. Yep. Yeah, I was curious to jump in on that. Did you play the game or both?
No.
Both of them? No. Okay,
No,
so you're fresh to all of it.
Yeah, it's all new.
Yeah, I played the first game. I have not played the second. I presume someday it'll get a PC release, and I'll do it. I'll do it then. I thought it was a fantastic game, and by virtue of playing the game or not, though, I think that was pretty wild. They did a really good job with that.
Really, that's cool.
Very faithful. Yep.
Yeah, I watched it. I actually watched it with the whole family, and the boys were like, they're like, the suspense. Oh my God, Dad, this is horrible. But they, I think it was okay for them. It wasn't too much. And my wife loved it. She loves that kind of stuff. So it's going to become like a Sunday night thing for us.
Yeah. I'm going to try to keep up with it. I think on release Sunday nights, I'm usually more of a wait until it's out and then binge it consecutively. But I'm like, I got the first one on release day.
Might even do a quick stream every Sunday after watching it just to talk about it. I've wanted to do more streams like that, about content. But I'm there. I've done a little bit and I didn't get much pickup on it. I was like, oh, it's a lot for, not a lot of return. So, but I don't know. I love talking about that kind of stuff. So maybe if I stream right after the episode airs, rather than waiting 3 or 4 days, because by then it's like old. So maybe that
super
was
fresh. Yep.
Yeah.
HBO Max did a good job too. It was, I did check the technicals on it, and the streaming numbers were good. HBO, I'm pretty impressed with HBO Max.
It's a good service. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good service. Movie 2099 says, you still rocking the Starkin walls? Yeah. So I've got, in the theater, I have 5 in walls. So 4 Atmos in the center channel. I've got 4 on walls, which are the surrounds and rear surrounds, and then 2 towers, which are the left, right. So they're still in there. And then someone's asking about the Symbian Amp FP series. Are they still available? Yeah, they're still kicking and available. Send me a message and I can help you out with that stuff.
Do you do any kind of control system in your setup?
Nothing right now. I mean, I've got a I don't know if you can see it behind me, but there's all my light switches. They're all automated. So I can control those by voice or by app and that kind of stuff. But other than that, it's just like consumer level kind of stuff, like Nest cameras and that kind of thing. I'm thinking about doing C4, Control 4, and doing that in the theater. But I would really like to, figure out something that will integrate the Kaleidoscape fully, and Lutron will do that. And it would be simple to put a single Lutron light switch in the theater, and then put a controller for that and integrate the two so that when you start the movie, the lights go down and all that stuff. So I'm thinking about doing that, but right now I don't have anything in there that's, out just that you can't get at Home Depot.
Right. Yeah, everybody gets it. I've got a Control 4 set up. That'll be one of the things actually that I'll be getting to pretty soon here in the new year, as well as they've got their new line of remotes coming out, the Halos.
They're nice.
Yeah. So I'm hopefully talking to my local dealer friend, Dan. I should be able to get the non-touch here very soon, and then
nice.
I don't know whether I'm going to want the touches or the non-touches. But I'll end up wanting to buy 2 of them for both of my spaces. And it's not inexpensive. I think MSRP is almost $1,000 a piece for the touch remote. It's just like, for just a remote.
For a remote? Yeah. I know my Logitech still works. So I'm like, well, it's a hard bite.
Yeah. Kato's cool stuff with the lighting though, with it's always neat. People get a kick out of it, start the movie and the lights go down, and I love they have the metadata or the automation hook for credits. So not even necessarily, don't even have to touch the remote and stop playback. But as soon as the movie transitions over from the movie to the credits, the lights ramp up. That's how people always dig the integration. It's fun. I need to do a little more with the system, I think, in the theater, and I want to start playing around with some more voice stuff as well. I'd like to be able to command the Zoom modes of my projector with voice.
Oh, that's cool.
For scope versus 16:9 and stuff like that. I've dabbled into that a little bit. I got my NAS set up for like Siri Homebridge, and I picked up an Echo Flex to try the Alexa stuff. But the new remotes are supposed to have more voice functionality built in as well, specifically for Apple Voice. So we will see. Yeah, SS. I definitely do have, I wouldn't say necessarily a love-hate relationship with C4, but I've definitely uncovered some of its shortcomings, and new remotes will finally be Wi-Fi. We'll see. I think a lot of Control 4's goodwill and not necessarily value, but say operational improvement is hinges on these new remotes. So I hope that they're winners. A couple other folks mentioned doing full Control 4 in my next house. I think like this hobby is so, especially with Harmony going out, or the Logitech not doing the harmonies anymore. You kind of have Control 4, and then you still have like these Crestrons and Savants and all that stuff at the high end. I don't think we have enough options for control, like good control.
Yeah, from a remote point of view, no. Yeah. It was Logitech, and they owned it, right? And then they said we're out, and then what's left? URC and the ones that you mentioned, like really high end stuff that you need integrators to deal with for the most part, which adds a whole different level of cost and pain, right? And then the DIY stuff is all like not nearly as good anymore.
Revisit on the questions here. Preferences between ZDoo and Zapedi.
Do you have a preference?
So I've never used a ZDoo in all the years. Going back a longer while, I had some Dune players. I did have a Zapedi for a little while, not the current models, but like the last generation. I think Zapedi is up there because of the media center. Is I think a little more developed than the alternatives, but in terms of the operation of the box, I still follow. I always follow the owners threads because I'm curious, like what's the tenor of the owner community on ABS, like for say ZDoo or Dune or Zapedi. To me, I feel like there's always kind of an equal number of like good statements and sentiment and frustrations for either one of them. So to me, it's kind of like splitting a hair, I guess.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would buy on price and features. So find the least expensive one that has the features that you need between the two brands and go that way. And I think you'll probably be all right. But the media center on the Zapedi, I think, is a bit more refined. So you're spot on with that.
A question on Kefs. Kef, did you keep Kef LSX2s?
So those were loaners. So no, I didn't get to keep them. I just got them and used them for a little while and did the content and sent them back. They're nice speakers. I enjoyed them. They sounded great. Desperately need subwoofers with them, or a sub of some kind. They just don't have enough oomph on their own. But I like them. They're not as good as the big brothers, of course. But for a small bookshelf speaker, they have that Kef sound and yeah, I like them. But yeah, I don't know if I like them enough to pay money for them when I don't need them, though. If I needed them, I would definitely consider buying them, but there's really no spot for me to use them here.
Yeah, it's not a brand that I got to hear some Kef stuff at Audio Advice, but that's the only time I've
I'm going to take a trip out to their New Jersey demo room. It's called the New Jersey Listening Lab or something like that, and make some content out there. But I'm excited for that. They have like their super high-end home theater. All their in-wall stuff is pretty kick butt. And they use an Acurus Act 4 processor there too. So it's like, hey, you use the same stuff I like. So I'm going to go check that out sometime this year, I hope.
Nice. I'd like to get out to some of the shows this year as well. I still have yet to do a CEDIA. I didn't get there last year, but
it's in Denver this year.
Cool.
It's like right up the road from me, right around the corner.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that one. That'll be easy to go to.
Yeah, Audio Device last year was pretty fun, especially as like a first visit to an event like that, and just being able to see and hear so many things.
Yeah, that's super cool.
All right. Couple of last questions. Moving 29, an impression of the JBL M2s that Art has when you demoed his theater to see the eclipse. So for those, Art is one of the few residential installs of the Christie Eclipse, multi-$100,000 projector, and he had a party, home theater meetup party back a few months ago that a bunch of us around kind of the Michigan meetup community went to. His room I felt was pretty phenomenal. I don't know that I can pick something out specific about, the JBLs. I can say that from a premium luxury room, that's the pinnacle of any space that I've ever been in, from the audio to the video and kind of everything in between. So I don't think you can go wrong with most any model of JBL equipment, speakers, etc., for a home theater space.
They definitely make good stuff.
Yeah. Cool. We're coming up on an hour and a half. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Just the normal stuff for anybody that ever watches a stream. Please make sure you subscribe to both Jeremy and my channels. If you're feeling generous and kind today, we would appreciate that. We love subscribers. It's kind of the goal, to build that audience so that we can share cool things with cool people. So, give us a shot. So the folks that came from my side, please jump over and give him a subscribe, and vice versa.
Yeah, like for sure. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for the invite and having me on the show. I love this, and thanks for all the questions from the audience. Good stuff there. It's always fun to hear what everybody's doing, and kind of get a glimpse into their home theater hobby life.
Yep. Yeah. Nice hangout. Nice. Like I said, I've always appreciated your content for a long time. So it's so fun doing this stuff and just getting a chance to hang out with folks and meet people and just enjoy the hobby together.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll be back with more streams, more content, videos, and all of that, I'm sure, very soon. Thanks so much.
All right, take care. See ya.